really feel like it's a time for new energy and some new leadership in Brevard in order to create a government that responds to their citizens and communicates effectively with them. So thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Hi, my name is Bill Bailey, and I grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida. And I do want to thank NAACP and everybody for putting this on tonight. It would be ideal to be in person, of course, but this Zoom is the next best thing. So it's a great opportunity. So I've been here about 24 years, grew up in Daytona Beach, Florida, which is nice, but Brevard is a whole lot nicer. We get 4 nice seasons. And as you know, Florida gets kind of 2 at best. And I've been a fitness coach, fitness trainer for 30 years. I've worked in Little League as a board member. This is my first time as any kind of political office. And I have 4 granddaughters, 2 grown kids. I was in the military for 4 years. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity to talk about some of my positions as a candidate. And I think that's been about a minute, so I think I'll stop right there. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Matt?
Thank you. Of course, Brevard is my hometown, and I've known most of you for a long time, Sheila and Tommy particularly. And I've been on council for a while. I'm the incumbent. I was first appointed in '86 until I left in '95 and came back when I came back from the Marine Corps. But Brevard is a wonderful town, and I have the utmost respect to the policies and in the situation that we have in Brevard and where we are and where we've come and how far we have come in the last 5 years particularly. And I want to continue to do that. I'm impressed and empowered by our staff, and I'm empowered by the community who have rallied around the projects that the city have initiated, especially since the COVID has hit us. So I'm asking for the voters to allow me to stay in one more time, and let's get some of the jobs completed.
All right, thank you very much. Kevin?
Hi, I'm Kevin Jones, and I feel like, well, as an Kevin, let it be muted.
No, we can't. He has to unmute himself.
There you are.
Hopefully I have. Sorry about that, folks. My name again is Kevin Jones. And I thank the NAACP and the folks at the Mary C. Jenkins Center for putting this on. I am the souvenir my wife brought back down from her 3 years up north. During that time, I'd been working at General Motors, had a 32-year career there, finished that in Atlanta, and went over to financial services, at which point my wife brought me up to Brevard. Beautiful place to be. Her daughter was going to school at the college, and I like to think I fit in quite nicely here. Since I've been here, I'm on the ABC board and on the Board of Adjustment. I helped found and start Acoustic Brewing. So between Aaron and me, we've got a couple of breweries covered. And I volunteer at the Music Center every year. I do some fundraising for the scholarship and some other miscellaneous things. I look forward to running. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kevin. Okay. Question for all 4 of you. Everybody here has kind of come to the big city of Brevard except Mac, and Mac does know all the history here. I'm wondering what you feel or think might be the most pressing issues for the Black community in Brevard? Oh, let's start with Kevin.
Ready to go?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, you know, I'm very much aware that I'm not from here, and a lot of our community people are. I think I'm kind of sensitive, and people could tell me whether this is of importance to them. But I would imagine, Black or white, if you've been living here a while, there is, you may have owned a house for 20 or 30 years, and I wonder if anyone's taken a good look at their tax bills. This is kind of the backside to affordable housing as far as I'm concerned. We often talk about affordable housing as being able to afford rent or a mortgage payment. But the question I ask people, and more for people who've been here a long time, is can you afford to stay in your family's house that you've had quite a few years? I think that's an important issue. And I'm going to turn the rest of my time back to everyone else.
Sheila, do you want to ask NAC, for example, to respond?
I want to thank Kevin for your response. Let's hear from Bill.
Building.
Bill, we need you to unmute.
Is that better? Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. I thought I had it on mute. Sorry about that. What I was saying was that being in this community, being involved in a lot of organizations, outside, also being in the gym, being in Little League, the Honor Guard, and a variety of things. I have a wide variety of friends that are Black and white and Hispanic. And I think there is a variety of similar things that we're all dealing with, or challenges. You know, one that's constantly talked about is affordable housing in terms of purchasing or renting. My daughter's almost 26. She's having a house built through Habitat, which is a wonderful blessing. And specifically for the Black community, I think sometimes just feeling connected with the entire community. Years ago, when I was involved in Little League, at times we didn't get a large cross section of the Black community involved. And being on the board, I would hear sometimes, occasionally they would say that they didn't feel connected. And we tried to reach out in that way. So that was one of the aspects. And I still have a wide variety of friends from the whole spectrum of the Black and white community. And so the cost of living in terms of housing, it's a great place to live. The young families, Black or white, trying to find quality jobs to stay here, because I think a lot of people want to live here and raise their families here. And so those are some of the things I think about, and obviously it doesn't cover every imaginable answer, but that's kind of just the basics for the sake of this forum. So thank you.
Thank you. Let's hear from Aaron. You need to unmute.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, we're so blessed here to have, you know, the Rosenwald community and the strength of that community and how historic it is. You know, I think Kevin is right that the housing issue is so complicated. But one of the things is people being able to stay, you know, where their families are from, and in their family home. You know, we recently got the census data back, and all of the counties around Transylvania County and Brevard added to their populations, and Brevard actually lost people. And I think that is a big red flag for us as a community. And of course, that touches everybody in the community, but particularly the Black community that is so, vulnerable historically and has been marginalized. We need to make sure that we have Rosenwald forever. And that is such a treasure here. There's some new buildings in town, and a lot of those homes are selling for $500,000 or more. And that has an impact on the people that are already living here, and the young people that may want to stay here. I think often about my path and how I got to stay in Brevard, and I bought my home. I live on McMinn Avenue off of Silverstein, and I bought this home 2 years after I graduated college. And I just don't think that path exists there anymore for students graduating high school or college to buy a home or even to rent a home. It is very difficult. And I think people are making the practical choice. They don't want to leave Brevard, but they're having to make the practical choice to move elsewhere in order to afford it. So the city, we really got to tackle that issue and make it our top priority to hold on to the communities that we have. And of course, Rosenwald is at the top of that list.
Thank you, Aaron. Okay, Mac, need to unmute.
Yes, thank you, Sheila. And what a wonderful day Juneteenth was this year, and to be able to celebrate not only that day, but the groundbreaking for the Mayor C. Jenkins community. And certainly that this whole effort with the partnership between the church and Randy and your Mayor C. Jenkins board, it's been wonderful to watch and wonderful to see, because I think this allows your rich traditions and particularly the historical trail that you've got. It tells the story, but you'll have a community center we can all rally around. And you get to share your history, because I'm still learning something, and I've lived here all my life, and I learn something every day that I didn't know. And I think that's what we're going to uncover there. And so I'm excited about more recognition, if you will, of our African-American history. And you've got an enduring contribution to our community for sure. But gentrification is happening there. It's happening all over, and that's the issue. You've got, I think when you talk about housing, we were blessed with English Hills. We've been blessed with other projects, and we hope that we've got some public lands that we can work with too. But anyway, I would put gentrification up there is my biggest concern.
All right, thank you, Mac. Okay, next question, and we'll start with Kevin again, please. Kevin, can you think of anything that you would prioritize for the Rosenwald community? We've mentioned housing, and we've mentioned the cost of housing. So how do you envision prioritizing the needs in the Black community?
Well, I've got an echo in here, don't I?
I'm fixing it. There you
go. Well, making sure that services are provided. I do hear from a fellow that I have coffee with on a fairly regular basis that we need to fix some roads there. I do think we really need to provide just all the essential services that everybody wants and deserves. And I can't think of anything where, something that would be specific to the Rosenwald community. I'm concerned with, as I think everyone is, managing housing and managing taxes and taking care of the infrastructure, water and sewer and whatnot. And yes, fill a few potholes here and there. That's it for me.
Thank you. Okay. Bill, would you answer that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yes. The first thing I always think about is developing relationships. The way we're designed by our creator is interacting with people from all walks of life. And whether it's community leaders, business leaders, pastors, just a variety of people interacting, developing friendships, connecting, understanding each other. Somebody from my position, understanding somebody from another neighborhood, even just getting to know my next door neighbor. So reaching out to this community you're talking about and understanding, coming up with even fun, creative ideas with nonprofit and for-profit organizations that would benefit them, and developing things that would benefit for, we keep talking about affordable housing, place to live, which is going to always be an issue. And it's that specific issue has a lot of tentacles to it, but the main thing I think about is developing relationships, and we could certainly do a better job. It's a neat community here, and those relationships can lead to more fun, creative ideas that benefit the Rosenwald community as well as Brevard kind of as a whole overall. So it's kind of just of a general sense without any real deep specifics, but thank you for the question.
Thank you for your answer. Okay, now, Aaron, I'd like to hear from you.
Sure. I think what I would say is equity in the infrastructure that we are providing. The Silverstein Playground has been, I think, one of the, it's just amazing to drive by that every day, or when I jog by it, and see how much use it is getting. We have more phases to complete of that playground, and I think those should be completed, before any other recreation projects that we've got going on. I think outside of recreation, just things like sidewalks and roads. There's a big nationwide conversation about how infrastructure can reinforce, racist ideas and things like that. And I think we need to look in our own backyard at that too. We talk some about how Rosenwald can feel disconnected from the rest of Brevard, and how are those streets laid out? There are actual gates across the road in sections of Rosenwald at certain times of the day, and are there gates across other public streets in other places in town? And what do the sidewalks look like on Maple Street versus on Mills Avenue, for instance? And we've got to be able to think about those things and not a way of pointing fingers, but really have a conversation, a task force, if you will, to ensure that the infrastructure projects we're working on are have equity and at the top of the list of priorities for where those things take place.
Thank you very much, Aaron. Mr. Mack, let's hear from you.
Thank you. Of course, my first thing is going to say, let's finish what we started. I love the fact that we got $95,000 for the creek. We want to finish that creek restoration. That was a high priority that we were told by the community. So that's we'll see that underway. I actually agree with Aaron that phase 3 and 4 of the the Silverstein Memorial Playground is going to be high on the priority list. But I guess the biggest excitement is going to be the connection to the Greenway. We'll get that done hopefully this year, and we'll have some money. We've figured out a way to hopefully move that on through. And the timing couldn't be better, that hopefully after all these years, we'll have some way, ability to work within the tannery site, the industrial site, that will get resolved, and we can put a greenway through there. Part of that infrastructure would be a connection to Duckworth Street. If you'll remember, we negotiated with the county and got a little piece of property so we could actually make another connection into the Tannery Greenway. So there are a lot of projects that I'm excited about that just need to be, that are on the books, ready to go. So.
Okay. And to all of you, we have young people that grow up here, go to college, and never come back. And the main reason for that is employment or professional positions for them. So what do you feel, or what do you think can be done to improve the employment in Transylvania County? And Aaron, would you please start for us?
Sure. Employment. I'm a manager at Oscar Blues Brewery, so I'm privy to some of those conversations that we have when we're hiring people. And I hate to sound like a broken record on the housing thing, but that is a part. It has become a part of every job interview that we do now, because we have to make sure people understand, especially for those that are coming from somewhere else, that it is not going to be easy for them to find a place to live. And, we're one of the larger manufacturers in town. We've got over 100 employees, and we pay a living wage starting out. And we've got, a lot of people paid higher than that. So the housing issue, I think, relates to that, the employment issue, because and bringing people back home who have grown up here, because if they're looking at their checkbook, well, I guess nobody looks at their checkbook anymore, but they're looking at their bank account just like we all are, and they're judging how much they can afford and rent and what they're going to be making, and that calculus, it's very stark for people that are moving from other places into Brevard, especially if they want to live in Brevard, the city of Brevard, and they're not wanting to live in an outer lying place. So, I think the housing issue is an economic development issue. It's of course a personal issue for people, but it's something that we really have to get a handle on, because we can create all the jobs in the world. But if people can't live here, there's those people are going to be living in other places. They're going to be living in Mills River and Arden and Hendersonville and commuting in. But we want them to live right here, especially teachers and nurses and all the essential workers that we've been talking about throughout this pandemic. We want those folks living right here in our backyard.
Okay, thank you. Bill, how would you respond to that?
Thank you. Kind of like a entrepreneur or business owner mindset would be to market just how beautiful and amazing Brevard is. A lot of kids that grew up here, as you said, they grow up here and then they go to college and they move away and they don't come back because of job opportunities. Sometimes people that grow up in an area, no matter how nice it is, they don't want to come back, or they want to come back later, maybe in their 30s or 40s or retirement. Some of that is common around the country, but finding ways to market, and we do some of that, I think, already through the chamber and just Brevard in general, but taking advantage of why Brevard is so beautiful and desirable to live. And that's another element of why the cost of houses are higher here than, say, Shelby or Lincolnton, those kind of areas. Those are cute areas, but the cost of a house here is sometimes 2 or 3 times higher than maybe over there. And it's more desirable to live here. So if we give the incentives for higher paying, high quality, high tech jobs, there are those company owners that want to come here. Some of them don't even know Brevard exists. So being able to market and reaching out to these places and saying, we would love you to come here, even though we're off the interstate, Hendersonville and Nashville, Fletcher, they're right on the interstate. That's a asset to them, but we're not that far off. So you've got Oscar Blues and many others that do want to be here. So I think we can ride off of that success and get more high quality, high paying, high tech jobs. Some of these younger people that go to college get a lot of good academic skills and knowledge and bring it back to Brevard. And we somehow reward them for that in terms of them creating a unique business opportunity, those kinds of ideas. Thank you.
Thank you. Mac, how do you answer that?
I've always enjoyed the homecomers, and we have a lot of them in Brevard. People who grew up here and come back to raise a family or to get an education or whatever. And then we've lost a few, and it's so nice to see someone like Sidney Outlaw come back and just tell us about what he's doing. But we've lost Mazzetta when, we've lost, we looked at the Hefners. They go off and be presidents of universities and didn't come back. So, but the exciting thing is, for most people, they can figure out the housing thing, I think. Is there job opportunities now in Brevard that we didn't have even 20 years ago? With Farm Agri's $15 million expansion, and you look just down the road, half an hour away, at what's going on in Biltmore Forest. So there are going to be jobs for skilled people, and if they have the ability, heck, they'll train you to do the jobs in advanced manufacturing. So I think we have a brighter future for our young kids today than we've ever had, even with Acosta and DuPont. And that's and I think that everywhere you look, somebody's looking for people to come in and learn skills.
Okay, thank you. Kevin?
Well, we are, of course, a small town, so our ability to drive the world to our will is somewhat limited. But I'd suggest a few things. So first of all, every business that's moved to Brevard has a story. And the story entails when they tripped over some regulation that they didn't know about or some circumstance that wasn't predicted. And there is a fairly easy solution to that to make Brevard a more business-friendly place for places that are looking in. And that would be to develop a facilitator or two that actually walks businesses through the various tripwires that might be in both county and city regulations. So, because businesses moving in talk to other businesses, and I've heard it said more than once that, hey, if I had this to do over because of this, I might not have come. So there is that. I think too, there's a lot of expertise around to help people here develop a highly regimented and comprehensive business plan so we can support people who actually want to start a new business here. And then finally, and this requires some imagination, and I don't have the answers to this, but I do remember 5 years ago, there was some momentum going on where some folks here were coordinating high school students along with outside manufacturers of 3D printing equipment. And at that time, the visualization was to make Brevard the place to go if you were going to do innovations in 3D printing. Now that project, I think, sort of dried up. I think the driving forces may have left town. I'm not entirely sure. And I don't know what the replacement project would be, but perhaps there's someone with a little imagination that might come up with a niche program that suddenly makes Brevard a place that that actually generates some new industry. That's it for me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. I think we have time for one more question, and we've had a couple of folks wanting to know your views on short-term rentals and in our area. So, Mac, let's start with you.
I have a short-term rental right across the street from me. Tracy loves Old House, and and we love the new owners. They use it as their sort of getaway. They're professors in Chapel Hill and area, and it has not been a problem for us when you think about inclusion into an older neighborhood. So my experience hasn't been like some where there have been disruptions. But the conundrum here is the city doesn't have the powers that some people may think it has. And so the state is even talking about taking away some of the powers that we even have, what limit they are about short-term rentals. So the real question is, at what point do you regulate them? How do you do that? And that would have to be done through the state legislature.
Okay. Bill?
Thank you. And are we talking specifically about like Airbnbs? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And I know statistically, Transylvania County is the highest percentage within the 5 neighboring counties, which in one sense is a good thing. Like my neighbor across the street, young couple, they renovated their house 4 years ago, and they have now turned it into a full-time Airbnb, and it does well for them. They probably bring in 3, 4, 5 times as much income as they would on a long-term rental. So in terms of for them as the homeowner, it's hard for them to walk away from that when they can make, and it's a small house, when they can make $150, $200 a night, and it is occupied, say 90+% of the time, and it's dog friendly, those kinds of things that a lot of the out-of-town guests are looking for. Thankfully, we've got some hotels coming up, which is great. And one that's already been built behind the bank, Wells Fargo. That's beautiful. But in terms of answers, like Mac was saying, there's probably no easy answers. Finding ways to maybe for the community or for the town, the city, to make some type of revenue on that. These homeowners that are Airbnb in their houses, it is a huge financial incentive for them. So in one sense, it's hard to blame them, but it does shrink down the supply of people that want to rent a house for 6 months, 12 months, or ongoing. I remember when I moved here 24 years ago, it was much easier to find a rental. In fact, I remember renting a house for $350 a month, which is impossible today. And of course, you know, it's a different day. That was almost 25 years ago. But even to find something under $1,000 for monthly or yearly kind of thing. So that's definitely something for teaming up with a collaborating group and figuring out what are some solutions. Definitely no easy solutions, but it's definitely a benefit for the people that have those, and it seems to be growing quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, are you ready to answer that one? Hold on.
Well, I guess there are two reasons why people look at short-term rentals. And first of all, here's my disclosure. From my opening comments, you might have gotten the impression my wife rules the roost. And this is not going to dissuade you from that. The house next to us was condemnable. And my wife got tired of looking at 2-foot-long shards of paint hanging off the wall. And I didn't want to own that house, but guess what I do? So my disclosure is, first of all, I do operate a short-term rental. Now, people are concerned about impact on neighborhoods and absentee owners. So I'm just going to address those real quick. First of all, impact on neighborhoods. Well, I'll tell you, the most common guests we have are people who are coming who don't want to stay with their parents, but are coming to town to visit their parents. Next in order of what we get is bikers, people coming for graduation ceremonies. And even on New Year's Eve, we haven't had any partiers take our place. So I would suggest that often they are not a negative impact on the neighborhood. People talk about absentee owners too, and I will briefly touch on that. If you go look at how many houses are owned by from outside the county or even outside the state, you would think that there's virtually no owners in the county. But that house I was just telling you about, that is owned by a company in Ohio. And that's because the money to buy the house came out of my individual retirement account. And in order to put a house in an IRA, you need a specialized company to do this. Now, my company happens to be Equity Trust. The last time I checked, which was 2 years ago, they owned 16 houses in Brevard. That being said, I suspect there are quite a few of those owners who are right in Brevard as well. So let's talk about what we're really talking about, which is the impact on affordable housing for long-term rentals. And if when we delve into the data, and I don't think anyone's really come up with anything that really indicates the impact, what the economic benefit of these places are, because I believe all the people I know pay sales tax to the state and pay occupancy tax to the county. But we really don't know a lot. And I would say this to you, I would suggest that until we know more, I would avoid the knee-jerk response of saying, let's limit short-term rental because that'll generate more houses on the market for long-term rental. The problem here is the market is red hot. So whether I can do short-term rental out of my house or not doesn't mean I'm going to turn around and rent it out for $600 a month. That's not likely to happen. Here's the other pitfall that I would advise everyone listening to understand too. MAC has indicated that the city has very little or very few tools to work with. Actually, they have only one, and that tool is zoning. Now, you can do a lot with zoning in terms of restricting short-term rentals, but supposing you use your zoning capacity to the maximum 2 years from now, we don't see the market turning at all. And we're talking about what are we going to do with affordable care housing? guess what? We have to turn around and rezone everything again. It could be very confusing if we go too fast now. And I just saw Jim look at his watch, so I'm done. You're welcome.
That's
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
I didn't answer that one.
Aaron, we haven't forgotten you. We have not forgotten you.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, please.
And I have a lot of thoughts, but I'll try to be brief.
Take your time.
There's estimates, and everybody's right that the data is very hard to come by because the state restricts how much you can actually even, what information you can gather from short-term rental owners. But by many estimates, there's over 1,000 short-term rentals in Transylvania County. And I think if you went back 10 years and you said, okay, you guys are going to lose 1,000 places for people to live in the next 10 years, I think that would raise some eyebrows. And, short-term rentals have benefits for individuals in the community. And we are, our economy is tourism based, and it certainly has to be a part of the mix of what we have to offer to visitors. But the impact, you can't lose 1,000 homes and not expect there to be an impact. I mentioned where I live earlier, just in my neighborhood, which is all homes that were built in the 50s and 60s. They're mostly 2-bedroom, 2-bath. We have 4 or 5 in my neighborhood with 2 more on the way. Those are all homes that 10 years ago would have been occupied by working people who were living here permanently and sending their kids to our schools. So it's really a question of the character of the city at this point. For me, do we want that to change forever, the character of our city? And there are tools we can use. Other cities in the state of North Carolina are using zoning to restrict short-term rentals. And the important thing about zoning is that it's grandfathered in as well. So current short-term rental owners would not be affected by that. They could still operate their short-term rental, but that also means that it's going to take longer for that to take an effect and to help with the housing issue. And so that means we need to act quickly. The other point I'll quickly say is that the county, as we all know, does not have any zoning, and they don't have much in the way of a planning department. So the county is never going to restrict short-term rentals. You will always be able to buy a short-term rental in the county if that's your choice, which to me makes it even more important for the city to do something to protect the character of our city, to make sure that working people can continue to live here, and to make sure that the homes that we're building are occupied by people that are invested in the community and want to give back, just like all the people on this call are so invested, to show up and listen to candidates for city council. Those empty homes or those short-term rentals aren't full of people zooming into this call because they care about Brevard. And to me, it's a question of character for our city and what we want to be in the future.
Okay, thank you all very much. Now you have 2 minutes to wrap this all up. So let's begin with Aaron.
Sure. Again, I want to thank the NAACP and the Mary C. Jenkins Community Center for having us. I want to thank all the other candidates for joining in. I know it is a little weird to be doing this on Zoom, although we've probably gotten more used to it than we care to say over the past year and a half. And I really want to lead just by saying that Brevard is a special place. And I think we all know that. That's why we're here. And I think we deserve and we should ask for a city government that reflects and supports just how special this place is. We face a lot of new challenges, and we've talked about them tonight. The housing crisis, some infrastructure needs that we have. And I'd like to briefly, just for a second, go back to those census numbers that we talked about earlier. That showed, as I said, all the counties around us gaining population, and we were the county that was losing population. And that's with all of the building that we've seen going on around us. That's a red flag to me. And I think we've got to be proactive in solving that issue, not reactive, but proactive. It really just means that we're losing some of our neighbors, some of the same neighbors that love to be here. They wanted to stay and live and work here in Brevard, and they're choosing to go elsewhere. I really feel like we can do something about it. I think we can do it together. There's so much of us, so many of the people here care so deeply for this corner of the world, and they're drawn to it. We've talked about people coming back again and again. I think we deserve some new energy and some new leadership in city government, and let's shape the next 20 years together. I'll briefly say you can find out more about what I've got going on with the campaign at bakerforbrevard.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook if you do that kind of stuff. And I encourage you to get in touch with me. I don't know everybody in town. One of the best parts of this campaign has actually been learning, meeting some people that I didn't know. You live in a town like this and run into 10 people in Ingalls. Every time you go grocery shop, you think you know everybody, but It's been great to meet new people, and I hope you'll get in touch with me. So thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Kevin?
Okay, looks like we're coming up hard on time here, so I'll do my best to be brief, which is, first of all, I've enjoyed listening to all the candidates talk. And I think however the voters decide to vote, I think the city is going to be in pretty good hands, and I'm happy about that. We agree on a lot of stuff, and our disagreements would probably be emphasis rather than right or wrong or any pedagogical disagreements. So I've been sitting here and wondering how I should talk to you in terms of if you want to vote for me. And I'm going to keep it simple. Since I've started to run, I wake up every morning thinking about what a special place Brevard is, and all the interesting people I am meeting, and all the stuff we have to look after. And you know what? I go to bed at night often looking at what I've done in the day, and if it's helped. And if you elect me, I'm going to do it for 4 years. And if you don't elect me, I'm available to help out anyway. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Bill, we'll hear from you next.
Thank you so much. And thank you and Jeb and everybody connected with the NAACP for putting this on. These kind of forums are great resources for people to listen in and for all of us to talk about these topics, these ideas. You know, Brevard is really, it is a wonderful place to live. Otherwise, probably most of us wouldn't be here. I chose to be here, and a lot of people are looking around the country for these cute small communities, Brevard, Waynesville, Weaverville, and we seem to just get nicer. The town just gets better looking and higher quality. There's a lot of things. There's never perfection. There's always room to look at topics and issues. We've got infrastructure things, this master plan with downtown Brevard. There's a lot of wonderful things in that plan, which would be fascinating. As with everything, there's a lot of things are, you know, where's the money coming from? And so many things with housing, because it's desirable, it's driven up the cost of purchasing a home or renting. It kind of trickled down from Asheville. So coming from Florida and moving here to a place that has 4 beautiful seasons, I don't have any plans to leave. And as a grandparent and a parent, it's neat seeing my kids growing up and now them raising kids, and the impact that I can have as a dad, as a grandfather, as someone in just day-to-day business, and then potentially as a city councilman. And I'm just grateful and appreciative for this opportunity. You could reach out to me either in person at the gym. So I've got cards out there. I'm on Facebook, and I just love to sit and talk to people, whether it's a coffee chat or standing on the corner. I walk into Ingles and sometimes get into 5, 10, 20-minute conversations, which I love to do. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to our next forums. Thank you.
Thank you. And Matt, we'll have you wrap this up for us, please.
Well, thank you. And of course, I want to stay involved and see all the wonderful things that are going on. It's an exciting time when you think about you want to do infrastructures. 29 million has been spent in the last 5 years, and there's more underway. And we've been so blessed with plans that allow grants to come in and low interest loans. It's just been amazing. We're going to get ready to do some work down in the King Street area this year, and it's been a long time coming. And I think you'll be amazed once the Greenway gets connected over to the Mary C. Jenkins Community Center. The Mary C. Jenkins Community Center gets built, and you're going to have those pennies every year to make sure the programs are continue to build more community. It's going to be a huge gathering place. So I think this next year is going to be so exciting. We've got the prospect of the Acosta Trail. We've got all the work that Blue Zone is doing. And when you think about how fortunate we are to even have Blue Zone here, and when you think with all the struggles that we have with healthcare, we've got concerted effort people here, where it's with the Pisgah Health Foundation or the Blue Ridge Health that they're here to help us in those things that we really need. And yes, we didn't talk about the challenges of child care and elderly care. But we did. I wanted to make one more point about, and Sheila, I saw your eyes raised when I said about DuPont and Acosta, but because the mountain area highlights say today, they say that there are the labor market here there are 23,301 job openings in the region and not enough workers. The jobs are out there. We're going through a whole reassessment where people want to work from home, or they want to do something else since the pandemic. So once that's all sorted out, there's going to be tons of opportunity for whatever people want to do. So I'm excited, want to stay a part of that. And I hope I have your support.
Thank you, Matt. And thank you all for your time.
Sheila, thank you very much. And to the candidates as well, thank you. We are going to now quickly transfer over. We're just on time, it's just 7 o'clock. So I would like to introduce the mayoral candidates and Kevin Lytle, sorry. Randy Lytle, I apologize, I'm sorry. My notes are bad. Randy, if you would, kick it off with our mayoral candidates. Thanks.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank everyone.
Lost audio.
Yeah, I can't hear anything either, Danny.
Okay, I got you back.
Okay, you got me now. I forgot to unmute myself. But what I was saying was I just want to thank all the candidates and all the people that are joining this Zoom meeting for this very special occasion. It's really a pleasure to be and an honor to do this. Just to introduce the candidates again, we have Danny Hein, Dee Dee Perkins, Maureen Copelof, and Chuck Chapman. Just to reiterate the ground rules, each candidate would get 1 minute opening statement, 3 minutes to answer questions, which translates to 4 questions to be answered by each candidate. And each would get 1 minute at the end to close it out. If any time left over, we would take questions from possibly from the Zoom attendees. So I flipped the coin and looks like Dee Dee Perkins won the toss, so you're the winner. First question is, what is the first thing you want to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Randy,
Yes.
hi. Are we going to do like our 1 minute introductions of who we are and then ask questions, or am I going to
Yes.
move forward with?
Yes, we
questions?
are. I was trying to speed things up. I guess I went a little bit too fast. The first thing would be the 1 minute opening statements.
All right. Thank you.
Go right ahead.
All right. Thank you. And I'd like to thank the NAACP and the Mary C. Jenkins Community Centers Committee for hosting the forum, and thank you very much. Many of you know me on a more public side, having been that I've been here for 36 years. So I'd like to share a more personal story in my introduction. I often tell people that although I was raised by a single parent, that I had many mothers. I was raised by a lot of strong women. In fact, they were there for me before I was even born. In 1959, my mother was pregnant with me, and she was a waitress at a lunch counter, not much different than the one that I run right now. When she was about 6 months pregnant, her boss pulled her aside, and he said that her growing belly, complicated by the fact that she was unmarried, was undignified, and that he could no longer employ her. When my mother told her fellow waitresses what had happened, they went to their boss and they said, "If you fire Edna, you'll fire us all." And my mother did not lose her job that day. But for the rest of her life, and she always kept a close circle of chosen family that never let me forget that we all have a duty to raise our voices when we see injustices, and that we have a duty to make life better in whatever way we can for others around us, wherever we can. And I have taken that charge seriously my whole life.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Just remind the candidates, you can stay unmuted throughout this forum, unless you have crazy things going on with noise and background. But Mr. Hein, you go second, please.
Thank you very much. My dog may be in the background, so I apologize if he barks. My name is Danny Hein, and I'm running for mayor. I'm one of the candidates, and my reasons for doing so are very simple. I'm a native of Brevard, and I love our town. And this place means a tremendous amount to me, and I am a believer in servant leadership. And it is one of my goals to serve this city that has given so much to me and given me so many memories over the decades that I've carried with me and shared with so many. I believe that we are at a unique place in our evolution as a town. And I believe that I also have the leadership qualities and capabilities to guide us forward. I've been experienced in lots of different positions, and the time is right to step up. So I want to work for you. I want to be your voice. I want to help solve the challenges that face us, and we've got great opportunity ahead, and I'm excited about getting to work to solve the issues that we all face. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Chapman.
Chuck, you're on.
All right. My name is Chuck Chapman. This is new to me, this whole Zoom thing. I'm running for mayor of Brevard because it's also one of the special places in my life. These are some of the qualiest people I've ever come across. Yes, it's a great environment, but I have a chance to help sculpt our town that is great enough that I chose to help sculpt this town. And it's an honor to be able to run for mayor and everyone involved has my respect. Because everyone involved, Maureen included, Danny, Dee Dee, the people on the city council that are running, they're saying that they care. And I care. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
That work?
Okay, Maureen.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you to everyone that organized today's meeting. I'm Maureen Copelof, and Brevard's been my home since 1992. And I've been living here full-time since 2009 when I retired from the military. My whole life has really been about service, service to my country and service to my community. I ran for city council 4 years ago because I wanted to make a difference in this community. And I've worked full-time really for the people in this town. I'm running for mayor because I want to continue to do that in an even greater leadership role. Brevard is a special place. It's a special place in all of our hearts. That's why we're willing to give so much and work so hard to make sure that we can build a future that everyone can enjoy a high quality of life, that our children can really grow up, remain here, find jobs with career potential, have housing that is available across the different income spectrums. All of these challenges are things that face our community as we continue to grow. And I want to be there to help us work these challenges and to use a lot of the leadership and the experience that my 30 years in the military really gave me. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate all the candidates. And so now we're back to the actual first question. And like I said, Dee Dee, you won the toss. So if you would go ahead and start off, what is the first thing you want to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
So I think that one of the number one issues that is facing us is housing. And what I will do in that first 90 days is establish a very broad housing authority so that we can address not just short-term rentals, which is a significant problem here in our community. And considering the fact that in the last few years that they've tripled in the number of short-term rentals that we have. But I also think that the issue about housing is much, much broader than that. We need to get aggressive and we need to focus on the housing crisis and that there are no fast and easy fixes. And by having this housing authority where we can reach out to our surrounding areas, we can talk with nonprofits, find out what other people are doing, and there are some really good work that is being done to help address housing, even though it's going to take years and years to fix. In addition to that, I want to make sure that a mayor doesn't have a vote, but you can be influential. And I'm going to advocate in our first 90 days that we hire a professional public information officer. A public information officer will be really important from the angle that we will have one central location for all of our communication to go out. And that means that we communicate really well with our residents that live here. We also need to be communicating with our staff internally, being sure that they know when there are changes in policies and be able to immediately address changes that are relevant to them. And then also to the media. We need to have one person who writes press releases, keeps information out in the public. One of those ways even is not just about festivals and events, but also when we have things that we want to advocate for instance, that could be a living wage. We need to be able to tell people why a business should offer a living wage. And we also should be setting that example, but we can do it through a public relations campaign so that they understand the value of having a living wage in our community. So establishing that public information officer is going to be critical. It is also a safety factor as well. So in the first 90 days, those will be my key points on what I will be focusing on. And thank you for that question.
Thank you, Dee Dee. Maureen, want to go next?
Thank you, Randy. Absolutely. In my first 100 days, housing is the #1 issue. You know, I have gone out and talked to so many hundreds of people in our community, and that is the issue that comes up over and over again. That is the crisis that we have to put our immediate attention to. And it's a difficult issue with a lot of different facets to it. And so during that first 100 days, I really want to start getting an action plan, both short-term and long-term actions, using the tools that we have, using incentives, using zoning, using partnerships, working on a regional level, talking with other mayors around the area, looking at what they've done. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's a lot of work that's been done. We need to really build that partnership with regional partners, with nonprofits, with for-profit developers, and we need to sit down and really work out those options that are possible here in Brevard. I want to use the tools that we have. I want to use incentives. I want to encourage, taxing at different rates. I want to make sure that we have a fee schedule that allows us to really reward developers when they put a housing at affordable or workforce levels. So housing is one of the first things that I'll concentrate on. The other thing I want to concentrate on is I want to concentrate on our roads and sidewalks. I've been looking at the situation of what they look like, and we need a plan. We need to really go out. We need to analyze where we are with those, and we need to get those so that we can have more maintenance done on those, as well as extending the sidewalk. I also want to see us continue with our trail system. We've just put $1 million towards extending the trail, and I want to see that actually happen in the first part of that first 100 days. I want to see the Mary C. Jenkins Center come up and get built. That should be happening in the first 100 days. I want to start working on phase 2 and phase 3 of the Silverstein Playground. We've already got the plan. Now we've got to execute that plan. So during the first 100 days, I plan to be really, really busy because there are so many things that I want to see happen in our community. And I also want to really reach out to the county and to our other regional partners through Land of Sky and really start working a lot of these issues on a regional basis. One of the things I've already started is working with the other local regional mayors in terms of our hospital situation, in terms of healthcare. And I want to build on that. So those are really the things that I will be focusing on in the first 100 days. Thank you.
Thank you. Please, Mr. Chapman, you go next.
Okay, what's the question?
Question was, what is the first thing you want to accomplish in your first 100 days in office?
Okay, I agree 100% with Maureen, right? I've been in contact with other small town mayors across the country that are dealing with a similar situation that we're dealing with. We need growth, but we're in a fixed situation, like La Jolla. We're in a fixed situation, but we need the enterprise. We need a tax base. I'm addressing our housing problem, our employment problem. I have a chart here, which is available to anyone. If you can see this, it is living wage certified employers in Trans-May County. If someone cares about living wage and affordable housing, if you pay a living wage, someone might be able to get a decent house. And this is a list of all the people that pay a living wage, which is $13.43. By our standards, HUD standards. Patronize those people. Now, in 100 days, I want to say that we have to address our infrastructure, which I've looked at the budget. We have sidewalks that are passable for me or my friend in a wheelchair. We're building new things. I don't think we should build new stuff until we fix our old stuff. That's something. But what I'm saying, most importantly, I would like people to address, patronize, this is a list, and I'll put it on my website, that patronize these restaurants that pay a living wage. All these businesses that pay a living wage, which is about $13.43. That's still not a living wage in reality. That's just getting by. But if you patronize these people, you speak with your dollars. And that's what I think is important. If you care about something, people want to talk about our influence in China, don't buy Chinese stuff. I know I'm getting off the track here, but if you care about our community, how about you invest in the businesses that care about our community? I work at Jordan Street and they pay me well. We do not have a job. We don't have a labor shortage at Jordan Street. Certain businesses don't have it. The businesses that don't have labor shortages pay their people well. Did I answer that properly? I mean, that's all I got. What I have is that you vote with your dollar.
All right, thank you. Okay, Mr. Hein.
I think that's a great question, and it really forces you to sort of think through the big picture. And I think that's a mayor's job, is looking at big picture and connecting the dots. So for me, it's really sort of a four-phased approach, and it's listening, assessing, updating plans, and then executing on those plans. And so for me, the big ticket items that we're talking about, housing, it affects all of us, and it's in every conversation that every candidate has. So assessing the housing market relative to the short-term rentals, relative to the other issues that relate to hometown housing, whether it's affordable housing, workforce housing, market rate housing, looking at the lay of the land and how all that fits together. The second thing I would look at is healthcare. Healthcare has been turned on its ear in our community, in our city. There's been a highly disruptive last couple of years, and I think it's left a lot of people with unsure footing as it relates to access to their providers and to the folks that they're used to seeing and that they've been seeing for decades who've taken care of them. So getting our arms around that, where we are and where we need to go in terms of strategy, relationships, and collaborations. The third thing specifically I would do is evaluate our master plan. We have a master strategic plan for the city for 2015 that has 6 elements to it. They range from arts and culture to economic health, livable communities, infrastructure, and environmental health. And I think it's important to take a look at the current status of all of those areas and see where we are and as it relates to our spending, the projects that have been completed, the projects that need to be completed, and really say, okay, here's the remaining dots that we need to connect, and where are we? And then, lastly, I think in the first 100 days, it's important really to listen and to get out to the specific neighborhoods, communities, and precincts and open your mind and your ears and hear what it is specifically, a lot like we're doing in the campaign, but looking at it through the lens of a mayor and connecting the dots from these pieces that we talked about. So the first 100 days for me incorporates a lot of those components so that you're prepared to go out and execute on plans that benefit the residents here.
Okay. Thank you very much. So the second question, and I'll ask Dan if you would go first on this one. There are some in the Black community who have felt neglected and ignored by the city for decades. Recently, however, the city has done a number of things to repair the relationship with the development of the Silverstein Memorial Playground, the near future construction of the Mary C. Jenkins Community Center, and the Tannery Park project. How would you ensure that this positive relationship between the city and the Black community continues to grow?
That is, again, a great question. I think that is a function of leadership. We do not thrive in this city unless all our neighborhoods thrive, unless all of our communities are connected and have the same access to leadership that engages them. And so I commend the work that's been done, and it's been a lot accomplished in a very short period of time. Unfortunately, there was a long period where not a whole lot was happening. So we've got traction, and we've got some good plans and priorities in place. And I think the mayor's role is to shepherd that forward, working with the city council and making sure that those plans that were developed come to fruition. But that doesn't end there. It's establishing a relationship face-to-face, weekly, daily, whatever it might take, engaging and saying, look, you've got access to part of the leadership team, and here are our timeouts. Here are our concerns. This is what we need. And that's part of my personality. And I enjoy listening and engaging and trying to solve problems, because at the end of the day, this is our collective neighborhood. And I want all of those that want to live, thrive, and remain here to be able to do so, because it's a place of joy. It's a place of great opportunity. And that would be the approach that I would take, is to stay fully engaged, open lines of communication, access anytime, day or night. I mean, that's sort of the way I operate. And I think, making sure that whatever the issue is, pointing it in the right direction and finding the right problem solvers and the right team to address it.
Okay. Dee Dee? Need to unmute, sorry.
Randy, you make a very important point, and I would agree that the Rosenwald community has been overlooked and neglected and underfunded for decades. And I do applaud the work that is currently being done by the city. But that also means that through the years, promises have been made to the Rosenwald community, and those promises have been broken. And that means that your trust has also been broken, and that's got to be built back. And if I'm elected mayor, I have a big obligation to you that I have to build your trust back, and build your trust in your mayor, in your city government, and in a larger community that you deserve to be a part of. And I will do that by listening to you, and by being accessible, and by being fully engaged. That means I'm going to show up. And that means also that you have an invitation to the table on a regular basis. It's called inclusion, and it's just being part of our community. I think that Rosenwald needs Brevard to focus on your community growth, again, about engagement in the neighborhood, and also to support enhancements. We need to tell your story, and we need to do it in a very local and a very public way. How do we do that? Well, we do that first by finishing what we started, and then we do more. That means that we do complete the stream restoration in a very efficient and quick manner, that we build the splash pads and the picnic area that is on the master plan, and that we build the East Otoe Trail and get that connection into your neighborhoods, to your schools, and then to the community. We build sidewalks from Rosenwald into downtown. Some ideas may seem small, but they also have a big impact. I'd like to see the Clemson Park, that when it's finished, to feature public art that reflects Rosenwald's history, and that Brevard gets an eye on your community every day. I have presented that idea to the downtown master plan along with Susan. We've been advocates for that, and we really want to see that be a part of the Clemson Park. I'd also like to give Rosenwald residents a reason to come downtown, so that they feel that downtown is part of their community. Building those sidewalks will do that, but it also is about feeling included. And one of the ways, in small ways, that we can do that is to make sure that our community festivals and our gatherings offer you that inclusion, that when we do have those, that we offer music that is culturally what Rosenwald would like to see and participate in, and that it not just be bluegrass bands and square dances. And we have actually done that at Rockies by having a DJ and having a street dance at the 4th of July every year, so that we are being a part of that and inviting the Rosenwald residents to be down on our end of the street as part of that. I also think that we could have vendors that represent the flavors of your neighborhood at our festivals. And also, we need to be inviting Rise and Shine kids and artists from your community to have art exhibits and to have sales at those festivals. And then I also think that we as a city and we as a community should also sponsor a festival in Silverstein Park. And that be like a regular festival, no different than the other festivals that we have on a continual basis that are hosted in downtown, that we also come to you. We bring an entire community to Rosenwald to see what is going on in Rosenwald and to be a part of your community there and be supportive.
All right, thank you very much. We'll move to Mr. Chapman. Questions being is, how would you maintain the relationship between the city and the Black community and make sure that it continues to grow?
I believe, my opinion, is that the way is through education. And so whether it be through Brevard College or Blue Ridge College, or maybe Appalachian State, educated people can make better decisions about their lives than uneducated people. My opinion. So at first I worked myself through college by working as a mechanic, and I thought all this socialist, free money, free college. But right now I believe if we offer our young people or older people in our town, people that live here, education, free education, because that is power. Education is power. And whether you are red, black, green, red, it doesn't matter. Education is education. It should be open to everyone. And there is no one saying that anyone at this point, if someone cannot buy the books they need to learn, I will pay for it. That's it. I will pay. I will pay my own money to buy people books if there's something they want to learn. Education is the key with the Black community or our entire community, whether it be older white people or older Black people or young Black people, young white people. Education is the key to everything that I see. Yes, our sidewalks are messed up. There are sidewalks in this town I can't walk down, sir. No, again, I'm probably one of the few people, I'm handicapped. I mean, I can't walk down certain sidewalks. Yet after Whitmire, the roads are beautiful. After the depot, but up to a railroad, I can't walk down that road. There are roads I can't walk down, right? So what we're doing is we are having a new baby with Clemson Park, yet our other baby needs shoes. That's all I'm saying. We're building Clemson Park, yet we have roads and potholes that have not yet been addressed. That's infrastructure. I may be oversimplifying it, but I'm saying we have to address this. What we have to address. We cannot deny the fact that there are people that aren't given enough opportunity. And that's young people, old people. The very fact that we don't fix our sidewalks means that we are not educating our people. I mean, I can't really say any other way. I see that what we're doing is we are building stuff and we have old stuff we're not fixing. It's like the Soviet Union building bombs, yet the people are starving. That may be over exaggeration, but the point is that we are building new stuff when we have older stuff that needs to be fixed. We have potholes, yet we build Clinton Plaza. I'm not discounting Clinton Plaza, but we still have potholes. A Prius can't go down most of our roads. Because we have a ground clearance of this much. I mean, maybe I'm overcomplicated or simplifying it. My point is we have to address our infrastructure. And our infrastructure means to be education also.
Okay, thank you very much. Maureen?
Okay, thank you. You know, one of the things that I have really worked on and really concentrated on for the past 4 years on City Council is trying to build that trust and that relationship between the city and Rosenwald community. And I think we've really come a long ways with that. I was really, really pleased when there was enough trust in the city to donate the land for Silverstein Park to the city so that we could work on it. When I ran for election 4 years ago, I looked at that park and I said, oh my goodness, we need to do something about it. Why is that park not in the same type of shape as some of our other parks? And then I learned that it wasn't city-owned land and we really couldn't do anything. So as soon as that level of trust was there and we got that land donated, it was really important that we act on it. And that's one of the reasons I worked so hard to get that playground in place, because trust is earned. Words are easy, words are cheap, but action speaks for itself and trust comes from actions. And I think we have to continue to build on that trust through action. And we have a lot of things in the works. Continuing with the playground is really important. Getting phase 3 and phase 4 done, doing the stream restoration, which was really listed as the first priority, and which we've got the grant funding and the engineering plans done. So that's going to happen. We've got to get that new community center built, because that community center really represents that link between the past and the heritage of Rosenwald and the future. And when that is there and we can have events and there is a space for community to really meet and really build that connection, I think that will make quite a bit of difference. We need to continue with things like the basketball tournaments that we've started having. I don't know how many people were at those, but the first one, there must have been 150 people from the community who just came out, brought a picnic lunch, sat on the grass, and actually started, having a great community afternoon. Places can build community. You build public spaces and you can help build the opportunity for the community to come together. So continuing events like that, the block parties, which we've held for the last few years, continuing to build on that, continuing to focus on a lot of our Black African-American artists, with the Faces of Freedom exhibit, expanding that with the wonderful historical markers that we've got around Rosenwald, teaching across our community the history that is out there. And it all comes down to leadership. And I believe in leadership by example. I believe in getting out there. I believe that you earn trust when you get out there, you meet people, you talk to them one-on-one, and they know you. They know what's in your heart. And that is how you build community. That is how you build trust. And that is how we need to continue to build those connections between the city and the Rosenwald community, as well as all of the other communities across this town. And that's my focus. My focus for the past 4 years has been people, it has been building community, and it has building connections. And that's what I will continue to do as mayor.
Okay, thank you. I think we're going to go ahead and stay with you, Maureen, and with this next question. According to the current demographic, Brevard has 7,899 residents, composing of 81.3% white and 10.9% Black. What do you see as the city's responsibility to the Black community?
Well, I see the city's responsibility to all the communities, really. And that is to recognize that there is diversity in our community. We can't ignore that. And I think it's important that we understand the history of our communities, the heritage that our communities bring. So when I look at the Rosenwald community, I not only want to make sure that we move forward, but that we also manage to preserve a lot of that heritage. I know one of the things that's been brought up a lot when I'm down talking with folks is the concern about gentrification, about losing their identity as a community. And so I think really part of what the city needs to do is we need to address that. We need to say, well, how can we help the different areas of our town, especially Rosenwald, really maintain that identity and that heritage that's so important. And so I think that's one of the responsibilities we have. I think we also have a responsibility because that area of town has been neglected. I think everyone here has commented on that. It was the one thing that really was so obvious to me 4 years ago when we started. So I think we have a responsibility to make up for what was not done in the past. The sidewalks going up and down into that area of town are not in good shape. We need to put more infrastructure work into Rosenwald so that it has the same level of streets, sidewalks, lighting, landscaping as the rest of the city. So in terms of demographics, I think we really need to be aware of what has happened in the past. We really need to make sure that when we look at things and we look at demographics, that we really keep equity in mind, that we are being fair, we are being balanced, and that we are compensating for things that maybe did not happen in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. Dee Dee, would you like to go next?
Yes, so I think that one of the very first places that the city can start with being responsible to the Black community is with inclusion. And as I spoke to already, making sure that you all find an easy pathway to our town, but also that we bring Brevard to the Rosenwald community and that we invite people there. And we can do that by having events and truly inviting people to come and show up and participate in what is happening in your community as well. I also think that it still echoes back to housing. And I think that that's probably still one of the biggest challenges for Rosenwald community. And the gentrification issue is a big one. And I think that there are grant opportunities, there are dollars at a national level when we look at what Joe Biden is doing with revitalization and the CARES Act. We need to make sure that we get those dollars and that we can bring those dollars to the Rosenwald community. We need to help Rosenwald community fix their houses and do revitalization. We also need to help you with the ability to purchase houses and to have a pathway to ownership. And the way to wealth is not through rent, is not by renting a house for 20 or 30 years. It is by being able to purchase homes and have our young people be able to have a future and have generational opportunities to pass those homes onto their children, instead of selling that and having people come in, buy property and build houses that are at $500,000 for homes that don't really address the housing needs for people who aren't even earning a living wage. And then I think that on a broader scale, we need to encourage our businesses here to offer a living wage. And we need to do that by setting the example. We also need to educate on what makes a difference in offering and why it is so important that businesses offer a living wage. It is economics. It is, and we also need to figure out some incubator opportunities and ways that that we foster Black ownership of businesses in our community, in Rosenwald community, but throughout our whole community, and figuring out how we can find the resources to be able to provide those support systems, to make that connectivity so that you feel that you're supported, and that we reach out and know what all those opportunities are for support for small businesses to be able to find funding. And it does exist. It exists in Asheville with by finding low abilities to support you with your loans, finding those loans. And then also the sidewalk infrastructure is something that's really, really important as well, making sure that there is connectivity throughout your neighborhood to all of the community throughout Brevard through the multi-use paths and connectivity by enhancing our sidewalks and infrastructure needs.
Okay, thank you. That's all the time we have. Let's see, Danny.
Thank you. Again, that's an excellent question. I think the city's responsibility to the Black community reflects the greater good in all of us, and that's to set the example in terms of dignity, respect, pride, in engaging one another to solve specific problems. And I think it's the leader's job and the city's role to ensure that the Black community is fully engaged. There are very specific problems that the Black community faces, just like there are specific problems across other cultures: affordable childcare, access to healthcare that is greatly needed, housing and neighborhood integrity, having a consistent voice at the table when things that revolve around the future of your community are being discussed, that present voice, so that things are not done outside of the awareness of local community leadership. And it's also recognizing that we've come a long way, but there's a long way to go. And we never will get there by being complacent. And so in my mind and in my heart, it's really, engaging each other as humans and on a level that says, look, let's pull each other together and move forward together and not lose the connection, because there's very specific things that need to be worked on and done. And I think that can be achieved by capitalizing on what's already been built, but recognizing that there's still gaps to be filled. And I think that's the role of a leader and as a mayor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chapman.
Yes.
Question is what do you see as the city's responsibility to the Black community?
I believe that education is the power. So anyone that wants to further their education, if our government doesn't provide it, or our city government, I'll provide it. When I'm mayor, I'll take my $10,000 and I will pay for people for books, to read books, because education means power. That's why, anyway, that's it. I believe that no one is keeping anyone from getting education. If someone does, talk to me and I will say, heck no, you cannot stop people from getting educated. My goal is I want every single person that I know to have the same opportunities I've had. And that means education. And if it means that I work 40 hours a week to give you a book, I will. That's all I got to, that's it. I mean, I can talk about infrastructure and parking lots and stuff. I'll tell you one thing quickly, because I have enough time. A few years ago, someone was talking about tearing down the basketball courts at Silvermont, uptown mansion. I did the Festival of Trees for 10 years running, so I have a vested interest in Silvermont. But every time I went by Silvermont, those basketball courts were occupied. I don't know who did it and who said it, but someone had the brilliant, dumb idea to tear down those basketball courts. And everyone in the community, our community, said, no, we need those. The basketball courts at Silvermont and the basketball courts, no, at Silvermont Plaza, or whatever, the mansion, and down where it is now.
Silverstein.
No, Silverstein. We need places. Young people need something to do. That's it. And I'm advocating coding. Tell them how to learn coding, that'll make you some money. But young people, if you're 12, you want to ride your bike, shoot a basket. I mean, do something. I'm saying the youth is our future. And I'm not in control of our city budget. I've studied our city budget, and I found that there's way too little money is put into our youth.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see, Danny, we'll start with you on this fourth and probably final question. 37.9% of Brevard's population are renters and 0% are available to rent. A resident of Brevard, Sandy Watson, asked, single-family homes recently constructed in the city of Brevard are anything but affordable. What is your position on this kind of development that is unaffordable to young families wanting to live and work here?
I'm sorry, but I just want to make sure I understood the question. You said 37.9% of the households are rented and
37.9% of Brevard's population are renters.
Oh, okay.
And 0% are available to rent.
Okay, you're
Currently.
saying there's no long-term rentals available going forward.
That is correct. And her question is Sandy Watson from Brevard. Single-family homes recently constructed in the city of Brevard are anything but affordable. What is your position on this kind of development that is unaffordable to young families wanting to live and work here?
It's a great question, and I tell you that is the most perplexing question I think that we're facing as a city. You know, I can tell you that Brevard, Bill mentioned it earlier, we have the highest population percentage of short-term rentals per household in the surrounding 5 counties. Really what this is a supply question. And it's the city's role and it's the city's opportunity to affect the supply by looking at things that frame up what we can and can't do within the city limits. So there's the Unified Development Ordinance that is a playbook for what can be built and the densities and the other things that affect the supply of housing. In order to drive pricing down, the supply of available housing has to increase. And so one of the things I mentioned at the beginning was assessing the housing situation. And part of that is looking at that framework and how can we increase and incentivize both not-for-profits and private enterprise to align their interest to build more housing within the context of the framework that we want. And so it is indeed a challenge. It's one of the, I think, top challenges that all of us candidates are going to face in terms of how we approach it. But we've got to assess that. And I agree that it is an issue. The fix is really assessing how we can align and develop more supply of housing, which will help drive the cost downward.
Okay. Mr. Chapman, would you like to go next?
All right. Is this my final retort?
You have a few minutes after this last question to round out your.
Ask the question, please.
Question is what is your position on this kind of development that is unaffordable to young families wanting to live and work in Brevard? Basically short-term rentals.
Abandon it. No, abandon it. You want to bring the best and the brightest here? No, it's going to take a second to bring in some zoning. But if you want to bring the best and the brightest in, you're going to have to control it. Right now, we have unregulated growth. We are, people have to understand that Brevard is locked in. We are a valley where our boundaries are set. Some people are concerned about the city and commerce, but there's more than the city. The Chamber of Commerce has 25 registered voters. Does that mean anything? Not to me at all. The very fact is that we have 8,000 people in the city of Brevard, and we are also part of our county. We have to think about our students. I have no control over the Department of Education, but education is important. I believe if we get any grants, and Dee Dee Perkins is shown that she's a good person at getting grants. No, I mean that, ma'am. I'm talking to you on the screen. I'm saying when I win or whether I win, I want you to be involved in the fact that you know how to get money to build this town. Ma'am, you've built this town. I'm saying, look at you. Can you see me on this camera? Right? I have mad respect for you. I mean that, right? I'm honored to even be in this discussion.
I had to take my camera.
I'm just saying. Yeah, camera off.
No.
No, I'm saying, I mean that from my heart. Where I think everyone involved here is concerned about our city. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So I don't know if that answered your question at all.
Well, thank you. Let's see, Maureen, you can go ahead next and we'll let Dee Dee round it out.
Well, basically, it's a supply problem. We need more rental apartments for families. And, to do that, we've got to approach this from several different aspects. One is the short-term rentals. We have about 400 within the city itself. And so that does impact our housing availability. One of the things that we're doing right now is I volunteered to co-chair a task force looking into short-term rentals that is going to really sort of get some of that data that we need to really understand what's happening so that we can see how many they are, what is the impact, positive, negative impact, and then what are the legal mechanisms that the city has that we could use if in fact we decide we need to better control them. So that is ongoing, and we need to continue to really get that data and make some conscious decisions on how we want to approach the short-term rental issue, because there are two sides to that issue that really need to be considered. We also need to look at our zoning. We need to change it so that we allow greater use of duplexes and multiplexes within city development. We need to look at city and county-owned land that could be made available at reduced cost to developers to encourage and incentivize them to build multi-family units. We need to extend the water and sewer to areas and really the corridors where there is land, where we could build multi-family units, basically apartment units. We need to provide tax reduction on multi-family buildings when a developer wants to build one, for setting aside a certain percentage for workforce and affordable housing. So really, we need to look at a combination of investment strategies, a combination of really sort of regulatory strategies. We need to use every tool that we have in our toolbox as a city to really start working this issue. And we need to do it with the county, okay? We can't do it alone. We have got to partner with the county. And that's one of the things as mayor that I want to do is I want to reach out and create this partnership. We need to be talking at a regional level with Land of Sky, with us, the Asheville Housing Consortium, talking to Asheville on things that they have done, looking at those options, because the fact that there is zero availability to rent is unacceptable. People cannot move here. We have, over a year waiting list on the affordable housing units that are in town. So housing is one of those things we've got to solve from both a family point of view, from a community point of view. It's an economic impact. It impacts our ability to really bring jobs in. So we need to be really working every single aspect of this with private investors, with nonprofit investors, with other government agencies, with the regional agencies, and really looking at all of those tools that we can bring to bear for both short-term and long-term. And we need to look at it holistically. Every little piece helps, but one option isn't
That's all
going
the time we have. Maureen, I'm sorry. Ms. Perkins, you need to unmute.
All right, thank you. You do point out a critical problem that is facing Brevard, and that is that rentals are non-existent. And actually affordable housing here is non-existent. And what we are doing, we're not doing fast enough, and we need to address that. And we need to acknowledge it's going to take years for it to solve the problem, but we do have to dig in right now. Some will say that it's not the responsibility of the city to fix or work on the housing issue, and I disagree. I say that that we have to find partners to find those solutions, and those partners can be nonprofits. I also think we could set up a local foundation and as we build on that foundation, like Waynesville has done, they plan to have by the end of the year $1 million in a foundation that goes to support those people who want to build the right kind of housing. And we can do that here in Brevard. I support that the city support this kind of development for rentals and affordable housing, specifically to infrastructure extensions and paying for those extensions. We also need to create incentives to encourage developers to come who are going to build the kind of housing that we need here. And we also need to make sure that, you know, that they set aside a certain number of houses that fit the threshold for what we consider to be affordable and to be rental homes. And we can do that through regulations and through our zoning. I also think that we have to find appropriate land to buy. We need to go out and do an inventory. We have to know what is available and keep up with what those options are and be in a position to be able to purchase that land. And it's not about making the city making profits on it. It's being able to control what happens with that property when we find developers that want to build on that property, whether it's Habitat for Humanity or whether it is a developer that that does want to build rental properties. There are ways that we can tackle that in that by being able to go ahead and secure that. And then we need to do other research. We have a lot of homework to do. We need to look at options like mandatory inclusion zoning, which is what I was talking about, that other small towns in North Carolina, they're using that and it's working. We also need to be able to support development that is using low income tax credits. And those in North Carolina, this past year, it produced 6,500 housing units in North Carolina. We should be able to use that and bring some of those housing elements to our own community. We also need to explore self-help housing options, programs, and find the resources where we can promote that here. The North Carolina Housing Coalition in Raleigh is a really good source for that information. And I have been talking with Sam Gunter, who's the director there. I've also talked to the fellow who's head of the Housing Authority in Waynesville, and they are having successes. They're little steps that can turn into bigger steps as we continue to add to our housing base in those ways. And short-term rentals is another one that we do. We've talked about addressing that, but we can control it with zoning, and we need to look very clearly at how we can do that because the short-term rentals in our communities are removing those rental properties that we need for the people who want to live here year-round. And many people are commercial.
I'm sorry, but your time is up. I'm sorry. So now we're going to finish up with a 1 minute session. Each candidate will get 1 minute to close out. And I have slated Chuck to go first.
Okay.
All right, so we're live. You can see me?
You sure can.
All right. All the issues that everyone has brought up, and I'm honored to even be involved in this process, is that there's housing, infrastructure, healthcare. What I can say is I have a chart here, and you can find me. I'm outside of Sunrise Cafe. I work at Jordan Street. This is a living wage certified employers of Chapman County. If anyone has a question about housing or affordable housing, go first to the employers that are paying a living wage. Living wage in Chapman County, adjusted by HUD, is about $13.46. If there's an employer not paying that, they are in the deficit. They're the devil. Evelyn Cleaver said, if you're not part of the problem, you're part of the solution. Or I'm sorry, I maybe misphrased that. The point is that if you're not paying your people 15 bucks an hour, you're being a piece of actually, no, you are, I'm saying 15 bucks an hour is going wage, and it's not dictated by the government. I pay all my.
Mr. Chapman, that's all the time you have. Need to move on to the next, Ms. Perkins.
I'm bad.
1 minute.
Thank you. I'm running for mayor because I believe I'm the right person at the right time to do this job. I'm uniquely qualified and I have the history, the breadth, and the depth of experience that Brevard needs right now. This town is my heart. For almost 4 decades, I have faithfully served our community. I've been a city council person for 8 years in the past, and I've continued to be active on many boards. I bring a strong communication and organizational skills to this office, and I will engage with city council, community stakeholders, and citizens, and I will be fair and balanced and deliberate. I will meet with the manager on a weekly basis, and I will also make sure that all of city council are brought to the table and that I hear their ideas and that they are fully engaged and are heard. We are a city full of opportunities, but not everyone has those same opportunities, and that needs to be addressed. We have identified tonight that we are facing big challenges. We have a looming housing crisis. We have a workforce shortage. Our growth is burdening our transportation and our infrastructure, and ultimately our natural resources that have helped create our success up until this point. But we must actively be looking for solutions. And I am a solution finder. I'm a creative thinker, and I'm a relationship builder. I seek out the best and the brightest, and I ask a lot of questions. I bring my whole heart to everything that I do.
Thank you, Dee Dee. That's all the time we have. Danny, Mr. Hein, you have 1 minute.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Well, this is not about mayor. This is about you. This is about a person, a leader who comes in and really wants to center around the needs of the community and who is positioned to do that in a way that benefits all of us as we go through this difficult but wonderful opportunities, time of growth. And so I believe that I've arrived at a unique place and time in my own journey, as has the city of Brevard. And I would consider it a unique honor and privilege to work and serve and be your voice at the table as we go forward. My name's Danny Hein, and I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Danny. Maureen?
One of the most important jobs of mayor is to serve as an advocate for the community. This is already the heart and soul of everything I have worked on as a council member, a volunteer, and as your neighbor. You've seen me year in and year out, working with you to make our community better, to increase communication, understanding, and equity. I want to ensure that we concentrate on solutions to increase affordable and workforce housing, but that we do it in a fashion that preserves our existing neighborhoods. I want Brevard to be a place where our families can thrive and children remain here with good paying career jobs. I want to make sure that everyone has access to health care and will fight for Medicaid expansion and to fight to keep medical services at our hospital. There are lots of things I want to do, and I have the energy, the passion, and the leadership experience to make these things happen. As mayor, I will be your advocate, fighting for the people in this town. And you can find out more information about me, my background, my qualifications, and specific plans at my website, maureenformayor.net. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Ms. Copelof, Mr. Hein.
Mr. Chapman, Mrs. Perkins, it has been an honor to be the moderator for this forum, and I think I speak for Ms. Mooney as well. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you all the best of luck, and appreciate you doing this for the NAACP and the Mary C. Jenkins Community Center. Good luck to you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all. From the, yeah, you need to mute. Thanks from the NAACP. Thanks. Okay. Again, thank you all. Thank you to the moderators, Randy and Sheila. Also to Nicola, who was our alternate and who didn't have to do the job, but she prepared for it. So thank you. Here at the City Hall, I'd like to thank Jim and Jill and Denise for your welcome, letting us use this facility. This has been respectful and interesting. I was impressed, as I'm sure all 60+ people watching were. So thank you very much and have a good night.
Good night.
We're done.